Good morning, pleasant good morning to one and all. Welcome to today's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption Incompetence. Today, Wednesday, the 30th day of October in the year 2024. Welcome one and all. And we start by telling you, share the live. When you come in, know that we are on. Give us a thumbs up, and show your appreciation. So here we are today, Wednesday, the 30th day of October in the year 2024. We're here to bring you some more credible, valuable information. Share the live, let people know that we are on the schoolyard. I mean, we didn't reach the numbers that we had on Monday, but it is jam-packed. The schoolyard is jam-packed, and when we open the school door, you students are here ready to go in. The program was scheduled at exactly 7 o'clock this morning, and immediately it was scheduled. The students rushed into the schoolyard, rushed in by the dozens. Then we got up to the hundreds, just rush into the schoolyard and awaiting the credible, valuable information. Today, too, beautiful day, a day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to being in the land of the living. It's a privilege to be spared to be in the land of the living, and we must give praise and thanks to the Almighty for that, because He controls everything. He controls everything, and always give praise and give thanks. My colleague, Mr. Conway, is already in the studio. He's waiting to bring you the valuable information. As I said, the program was scheduled at exactly 7 o'clock this morning, and oh man, they were there when I went to open the gate. The students are there, very orderly, of course, but they're there ready to come in. And as we would normally do, we're going to do the roll call, and then we're going to make some announcements, and we're going to move straight into the details of the program. Those of you who have subscribed to the channel on YouTube, and those of you, and hit the notification button, remember, not only subscribe, but you have to hit that little bell. I think it's somewhere at the bottom right, and then that allows you to get a notification when the program goes live. If you're a Facebooker, then you will follow the page and you will get a similar notification. Again, you got to give me the thumbs up. Give us the thumbs up. We only have, 20-something thumbs up with over 500 live people at this time. Not good enough. Not good enough. So do your thing, man. You do your thing, and we will do our thing. As I've said, when the school gate was open this morning, students rushed into the schoolyard. And it's about 16 people came in at the same time at 7 o'clock. So let me run as quickly as I can. I'm going to run the roll call, and then we're going to move into the program. These are the people who came in at 7. You had Peter. Then you had Vibert from Brooklyn, or from New York, I should say. Barbara. We had Kenneth from Maryland, as you can see there. Then the Kanamaruk man. Tessa. Jakey from Maryland. Patricia from New Jersey. Wayne is a man from New York. Puran from Essequibo Coast. Rosalind. Floyd. Marcia. Bort. Aileen. Pamela from West Dem. Lennox. The pastor is here, 9339. Malcolm. And then Derek. They all came in at 7 o'clock this morning. And then shortly thereafter, we had the man from the Hills Ballet. Then it was Magnell, Clarkson, Aubrey, Pauline, Carl, Diane, Richard, John. Dennis from Barbados is here. Anthony from Peters Hall in the East Bank. Ian from Queens. Gaston, my squad mate from Canada. Brian from Brooklyn. Original black man. He said he's enjoying his vacation, or he's in vacation in Guyana. Be safe, my brother. Be safe. Essie, Earl is here. Joan, Sean is here. Sean came in at 7:02. Courtney from New Jersey. The secretary is here. There he is here. Cecile, Gibbo from Brooklyn. Raul, Shalon, Ulrich from West Dem. Kevin, Randolph, Danny. Then we have BX is here. The one and only BX is with us. Felicia, Jaco from Georgia. Daniel, a man from Linden. Bonita, Smitty is here with us. Then it was Anthony, Joseph, Claremont, Aticia. Can't recall seeing this student before. Welcome. Terence, And Terrence is Terrence 9135 from California. Princess Orr from Lamar Springs. Queenie from Brooklyn. Orin from the UK. Evelyn is here. Wayne from the UK. Emerson, Diane, Jean, Howard, Monica, Patrick, Uncle Paul is here with us. George, Lynette, Clifton. Clifton is from Paris. Sean, and this is Sean Maxwell, as you can see. Then it is Lynette from the UK. Then Clarence, Sydney, Bray, Connolly, Colin, Joseph, Terrence, and this is the next Terrence Young. He is from Canada, 9795. Vibert, this is another Vibert. John, Carlisle, Patricia, Simone. Then it was Neville, Wendy, Isabella, followed by Desiree, Paul, Kevin, Brenda, Andre, Wayne, and this is Wayne. Yeah, well, Wayne came before. Fergus, Winston, then from California, it is Francis Kidd from Melanie, Richard, Neville, Walterine, George, he says his number was 8727. Annette, Ivla, Simo is here with us. Inferno, Colin from Queens, Michael, Derek, and Derek here is from St. Kitts and Nevis in the house. Sandra, Lyndon, Forbes, Maury is here with us. Audrey, you're celebrating, man. I know you're celebrating. Wonder what you're celebrating. Brennan, you came in, although you came at what, 7:40? You were 100 and something. I can't recall seeing this student before. Enola is here with us. Raul, Moses. Then it is Onika, Heather, Clive from the UK, Simoa, Ronald, Rhonda, Kerry, Joy, Lucius is here with us. Then it is Lorraine, Dexter, Maureen, Tony, Rastaman, Clay, Abera, Charlene is here with us. Kurt, the Angel is here. June, Rhonda, this is the next Rhonda Lane. Then I'm still in the house, she says. Then we have Rennie, Triforza is here. Mary, Barbara, Colin, Ulrich, my squad mate, 5s, 9555 Stevens, he operates out of Barbados. Norbert, Russ, Ricardo, Grantley, Karn, another squad mate of mine, 9414. He is from Arizona. Then we have Ainsworth, the man K. We used to call him K. Lance is here. Colin, Grace is with us. Henrik, Rohan, the one and only Rohan, 12863, Jahowar, Machu, Silan, Karen, Farina said hacking her computer. Siobhan, Phil, Delanio, Everett, the man from Texas, Dorette, Marcus, Wayne says his number was 17288. Me is here. BV man, Ezekiah is with us. Morton, Wesley, Vibort, the man from East Bank of Demerara. Selwyn, Ovid always proud to put his number 0937. My squad mate, 349. Doreen from Canada is here with us. Winston is here. Say some New Hampshire, Maine. Then we have Kurt. Then it is Tulula. The African Queen is in the house. Look, we have John from Tennessee in the house. Roy from Schenectady is here. Glenn, Selima, Oral, Mr. G, Ann, Nigel, Dwayne, David, Delon, Melville, Harold, and this is a new man. I can't recall seeing Pepper Goat. The Pepper Goat is here. Trevor, Lance, Sandrine, Lyndon, Allison, Chilo is here, as you can see. Colin from New Jersey, Flavio, Michael, Sandra, Jason, Shamlin, Debbie, Kay, Lyndon, Carol, Hel, Ben, Marcus, Godfrey, Doris is here with us. Can't recall seeing Doris in the classroom. I know she's a student, she watches. Then we have Jansen, Lyndon, I suspect it is, Albert, then Angela, Carmel, then it is Floyd, Gordon, Beverly, John, Roxanne, June, then it is Cedric, Winston, then it is Gary, then the first man in that is those are the people who are on YouTube. Then Edward Charles has retained his now one position on Facebook. He was followed by Wills, Then Claudine, Bumi, Bonita, Steve, Lynette from Barbados is there, Leroy, and the list goes on and on and on. So that is a roll call for you today. Park Schoolyard we had, and the school, since the school doors were open, we have lots and lots of students. Well, we'll make some announcement quickly, and then we're going to move on. Well, remember, for those people in Borbis in particular, today is the funeral of Alfred Paul, retired superintendent. I did mention it. Arokiam Funeral Home viewing and service 11:30 to 12:30. Then his son's resident Courtland Village Quarantine for viewing. Then service there at the Seventh Days Adventist Church from 2 p.m. and he'll be buried at Firish Cemetery. And we also told you about we told you about Debbie. We're gonna make the announcement because Debbie's funeral is scheduled for the 4th at Brigham Cathedral. But then we had the death of not a student as such, but a popular person. We're talking about Rabindranath Bihari, known as Chico. Chico died, and his funeral will be on the 1st of November at the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception from 3:30. Now, for those of you who don't know Chico, Chico Bihari, the name Chico is famous with chewing gum. In Guyana, any child that want a chewing gum, they say, I want a Chico. Well, the Bihari company is the one that made this Chico chewing gum. We used to call it Bihari Bullet, and they had all kind of name for it. So the Chico that you know about the chewing gum was named after Rabindranath Bihari. He died recently, and he will be buried on the 4th, which is the 4th even Friday. The 4th, he will be buried on the 4th. So that name lives on. Chico, all these children need the wanted chewing gum. They don't tell you, so we want a Wrigley or we want some other brand. So we want a Chico. But it's not Chico brand they want. It's a chewing gum they want. A chewing gum. So I want to express condolences to all the relatives and friends of those persons who have died. And hope that the deceased rest in peace and rise in glory. Now, in terms of birthday, the up here ABC announcements. Recently, belated birthday greetings to Matthew Joseph, superintendent. He's the bandmaster. He's the man who's in charge of the police band. He celebrated a birth anniversary recently. And we had retired deputy superintendent Louis Golin. We used to call him Buddy from the TSU. His regulation number was 9681. He worked there. We all joined around the same time, 1974. He spent years at the TSU working in the arms store, or the armory, not the arms store, the armory there. And Buddy celebrated a birthday recently. I understand he recently had some health challenges. Buddy, we wish you all the best, my brother, all the best. And a happy birthday, happy belated birthday to all those who celebrated. Now, let me go on to some quick other announcements. Cricket is in the air, and you see Aileen and all these Jakey and all these cricket fans are here. Let me tell you that the regional Super 50 started out very quietly yesterday. That's West Indies regional Super 50. There were 2 matches. Trinidad defeated the CCC. There's a combined campuses and colleges. And then Windward Island defeated Guyana. Guyana batted first and made 274 for 5 in the 50 overs. I think Kimo Paul and the captain got some runs. And Windward replied with 277 for 9 in 49.3 overs. And then we have a test match going on in Bangladesh. South Africa and Bangladesh. Day 2. The 2 ended today. South Africa made 575 for 5 declare. And they have Bangladesh on the ropes, 38 for 4 at the end of the second day. And then tomorrow, just in case you're not in tune, tomorrow the ODI series between West Indies and England kicks off in Antigua. That's a one-day game, West Indies and England in Antigua. The match starts at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. The latest you'll have seen at Etimaya is in the setup. He's in the 50-man squad named for that game. We have tomorrow for the Americans in particular, the Jombi holiday. Halloween is tomorrow. Tomorrow is Halloween. And then tomorrow too, I understand, is the Diwali greetings. Tomorrow is Diwali. So I want to say, I don't know if you say happy Halloween, but I know Diwali, I want to extend pre-Diwali greetings to all the Guyanese, especially the Hindu brothers and sisters who will be observing that holiday tomorrow. You know the thing about holiday growing up, the thing about Diwali growing up, they say that Diwali is the darkest night in the year. And they, you know, these old people say, and they say that a child that is born Diwali day or Diwali night, listen to this, what they used to tell me long ago, Iswal. If you're born Diwali night, you're destined to thief. They, they also said, in terms of thieving, they said, cat jump you on. If cat jump you on, you got a thief. Well, we had a man named Sagi Jarvis. Sagi was officer at the training school. You used to say, not cat jump you on. Bengal tiger. He said, them bar thief, man. It's not cat jump there on. It's Bengal tiger jump there on. So tomorrow, the Festival of Lights. So I guess tomorrow night is the lighting up. Or tonight is going to be motorcade. Tonight is going to be the motorcade along several places. And then tomorrow night, they light up the Diaz and so on. Can you recall, I think it was last year, they had a big incident in Alexander Village with a certain PPP councillor pulling gun and all that sort of thing. Up to now, you ain't nothing about that, you know. Up to now. Yeah, Carl, you said the biggest thief. I believe in them thing there. They don't believe in that. But they say, if you're born Diwali night, the darkest night in the year, you're destined to thief. And then if you make cat jump you on, you're going to thief too. Or as Sagi would say, Bengal tiger. Well, what happened to the man with 240 by is what jump he on. What jumped the man with 240 on? I don't know. And the other announcement I want to make before I bring in Mr. Conway is that for those of you who follow full bore rifle shooting, the West Indies Full Bore Shooting Council annual Full Bore Shooting Championship started yesterday, actually, in Guyana. It is being held at the Timeri Rifle Ranges. Y'all know I used to be part of that setup, but over the past couple of years, I have taken a sideline deliberately. I stay out of the thing. Stay out for obvious reasons. I stayed out. So it is there. Today is the second day of individual shooting. Tomorrow, I think, will be the third day. And then they have Friday and Saturday, the team match, the two team matches, long range. And for those of you who don't know, when we talk about long range, we're talking about shooting at 900 and 1,000 yards. And then the following day will be the short range championship, which is the symbol of rifle shooting supremacy in the Caribbean, shot over 300, 500, and 600 yards. A team of 8 persons. And I understand we have now in Guyana people from the US, people from Canada, people from Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, Antigua. I think those are the teams that are participating in the tournament. So and with the team shoot on Friday and Saturday, you would normally invite persons. You can go and you can look on to see what is going on, how the shooting is done. Full bore shooting, one of my favorite sports. I had the fortune of starting to represent Guyana way back in 1978 as a young sergeant. Went to Barbados to shoot there and did exceedingly well. And I maintained that participating for a few years in the 90s when I was going to university. I had to take some leave and then I started back. Yes, so that is going on. So anyone who wants to go up, you can go to the Timeri Ranges, especially on Saturday when there is the rail shooting, the team shoot. Go and cheer on the Guyana team on Saturday. Let me bring in Mr. Conway and then we're going to move on. So go cheer them on and make sure that you get the support. Please be welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Praise the Lord. We all in the land of the living to do God's work. And I want to shout out to a pastor from West Coast, Borbis. He's always been praying for us, praying for me and you, Paul, and also praying for the program itself. So I just want to shout out to him, and may God continue to bless him.
As we talk about prayers, perhaps a good way to start this morning, and remind you that I'm going to play it often. You know, in 2021, we played it on Monday. 2021, there was a release, and this is the Starbrook News on the dated March 11, 2021. It says the Ghana Police Force today said that the removal of the police chaplain, Pastor Patrick Dulichan, has been rescinded. A release from the police force follows. Media release on chaplain's appointment. The appointment of Pastor Dulichan as the chaplain of the Ghana Police Force, which was revoked earlier today, Wednesday, the 10th of March, 2021, and posted on social media, has been reviewed, and the revocation letter has been immediately withdrawn. The Commissioner of Police Acting Nigeria, PDSM, has communicated with Pastor Dulichan, and he has consented to continue serving in the capacity as the chaplain of the Ghana Police Force. Further, contrary to what was stated in the revocation letter, His Excellency, the President, Dr. Irfan Ali, has indicated that he appreciated the eloquent and forthright prayer by Force Chaplain Pastor Dulichan and at the annual officers conference, and he never had any issue with it. And let me tell you what the original story was. The original story was former Assistant Commissioner of Police, Reverend Eric Bassant, has replaced Reverend Patrick Dulichan as the Ghana Police Force chaplain effective from Tuesday, March 9th, after the latter confessed the sins of the force at a recent annual officers conference. The Ghana Police Force confirmed Reverend Bassant's appointment in a brief press statement yesterday afternoon. And it says, please be apprised that Reverend Eric Bassant, former Assistant Commissioner, has been appointed as the Ghana Police Force chaplain and coordinator of COPS and Faith Community Network effective March 9, 2021, the statement said. As such, it added that Reverend Patrick Dulichan's appointment as Force chaplain was revoked effective from yesterday. The police did not provide a reason for the sudden change. However, the move comes days after Reverend Dulichan delivered a more than 5 minutes long prayer at the opening ceremony of the Ghana Police Force Annual Officers Conference, which was held last Thursday at the National Culture Center. During the prayer, Reverend Dulichan described the force as fragmented. He also confessed to its involvement in issues such as corruption, bribery, racism, and injustice. And for that, he was, and Brutus. At the time, Brutus was the man at admin, Senior Superintendent Calvin Brutus in 2021, and Brutus dismissed Dulichan. Dismiss him for the prayer. And this is the prayer. This is the prayer. I got to play it to you so you could understand what is going on, Listen to the prayer from Pastor Dulichan.
This day, we lift the Guyana Police Force before you. And Father, today, if we are honest, we're able to say that this force is hemorrhaging right now. We stand in the gap and we confess the sins of this noble organization. We confess every spirit of racism in this organization. We confess the spirit of corruption and bribery. We confess the spirit of injustice. And we declare, oh God, even now, above all, we confess the disunity. And we pray, oh God, that right now, that this force is so fragmented that unless you help this force will continue to be in trouble. The words of Jesus declare that if any kingdom that is divided cannot stand, Jesus said any house that is divided will fall. Any institution, the Guyana Police Force is no exception. And if there's not unity and togetherness in this force, they will continue to face major issue. We pray for this force, even now, oh God, that this force today will understand that when they come together, like Joshua, as he was leading the children of Israel around the walls of Jericho, your word said, it was when they were together and in one accord, then the walls came tumbling down. Your word declared that even in the days of Solomon, when the trumpeters and when the worshippers were as one, then the glory of God came down. Father, we pray today, we are reminded of the words of the Apostle Paul. He said, mark them that cause division among you, and avoid them. People today who God is putting themselves above this noble organization, it will bring disaster and calamity. So as they will be deliberating for the next couple days, let there be oneness among them. Let there be good relationship among them, because when they're in one and have good relationship, then they can accomplish the impossible today. Bless every aspect of their program. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen and amen, Pastor Dulichan. And folks, that was in March 2021. March 2021, Pastor Dulichan prayed. He talked about the corruption, the disunity, and all of that, racism. He spoke about those things. And for that, the same day, Senior Superintendent Calvin Brutus fired him. And then later on the day, because when the people spoke to Nigel Appy, who was carrying out the functions of the commissioner, he said he knew nothing about the firing. And then later it was reported, as I read earlier, President said that he saw nothing wrong with the prayer. And they were forced to rescind the dismissal of Pastor Dulichan. So the signs were there a long time. The signs of being self-serving, the signs of being, maybe you would want to say autocratic, was there all the time. And what did they do? They kept him in that position. That was March in 2021. Brutus was brought to the admin on the 16th of August, 2020. Take less than a year. The man started to exercise powers that he never had. Never had power to dismiss the man. But he dismissed the man nevertheless, unknowing to the man who was sitting there as the acting commissioner. And they did absolutely nothing about that. They reinstated the man, but he wasn't disciplined. He was not disciplined. He should have been all before the coals. And I had said earlier that he should have never been allowed to occupy. And with this here now, when the president had to intervene, as they say, to have this decision rescinded, that was sufficient for them to take action against E2 out there. He had no such authority. You can't say you're dismissing the fourth chaplain without the sanction of the commissioner or the man who sits there as the commissioner for speaking the truth. That is what they do, you know. When we come on this program and we speak the truth, they attack you. They send one trolls to do things. In my case, lawsuit for defamation and all these type of things. When you speak the truth, they're not doing anything. So this is what you're seeing now with Brutus. The signs were there. And we're going to talk more about it as we go on. Mr. Conway, do you want to say anything about this prayer, my brother? Anything you want to say that has not been said as yet?
Well, the thing is that, you know, here was it, the pastor praying for the police force. And he ain't bluffing, you know. He was sincere. He talking about the sins, the corruption, the racism, the fragmentation, the bleeding, and all sorts of things. And lo and behold, you get a little thing sent by Brutus, knocking me off. And then Happy, who was holding the brief as commissioner, wasn't aware of it. But those things are still there. They are still manifesting themselves. And, you know, they had early warnings, but they don't look at it. Had early warnings, and those things are still there and maybe more prominent now. But had early warnings, and they did nothing with it. So it will continue.
Yeah, it will continue. It did continue. It did continue, and it manifested. The unprofessional, autocratic behavior manifested itself in many forms thereafter. Now, let me say this as we move on. More embarrassment for the police force. This police force that Gil Teixeira said is, and this man we named Sherwin Crandon, I think is his name, says the best police force in the Caribbean. More embarrassment. We saw yesterday news from News Source. Let me read it to you. The headline says 2 policemen to be charged over Giffland parking lot abduction and robbery. 2 policemen are to be charged. And hear what the story says. The Director of Public Prosecutions has advised that criminal charges be laid against 2 serving members of the Guyana Police Force over the abduction and robbery of a supervisor at a gold mining company from the parking lot of Giffland Mall just over 2 weeks ago. One of the policemen to be charged is believed to be the driver of a senior police officer. The entire incident was caught on camera. The victim, Kevin Fitkow, who is originally from Linden but lives in Providence, told investigators that he was taking his vehicle to the wash bay close to the mall parking lot on the 10th of October. When three men approached him, excuse me, and identified themselves as police officers. The man said the three men never provided him with any form of identification. And after he initially refused their request to get out of his vehicle, he was forced out by the men and handcuffed. He said two of the three men were armed with guns, and he was dumped into the backseat of a gray Toyota Primo car, and they sped off from the Giftland parking lot. Investigators said the car was found to be registered to a police officer. The victim told news source that after he was abducted, the men demanded money from him. He explained that he did not have any money on him, and as they continued to threaten him with their guns, he eventually told them that he had money at home from his family's trucking business. Fitkow said the men drove him to his home and forced him to hand over $9.5 million in cash that was in the house. He said the men disconnected his surveillance camera, the camera recorder, and left with it, promising that they would return the next day. Fitkow said to his surprise, the men kept their promise and returned to his home the following day, but this time it was in a blue and white car belonging to the Guyana police force. He said the men demanded more money from him and also questioned him about valuables before leaving the house. Fitkow said the following morning he visited the Providence police station and filed an official complaint after realizing that the robbers really were police officers. The police investigators were able to confirm his story after retrieving, let me read that back. The police investigators were able to confirm his story after retrieving video surveillance recording from other persons in the neighborhood and also from the CCTV camera in the area. Last week, the Guyana Police Force issued a wanted bulletin for 29-year-old Akimo Bramel, who had been identified as one of the three men who abducted Fitkow from the parking lot of the Giftland Mall. The wanted man's last known address has been given as Belay Springs in Georgetown. The names of the two police officers are to be charged for the abduction and robbery are still to be released by the force, but they are expected in court soon. More and more, this thing is so only embarrassing. It's not only embarrassing because you can only embarrass if you get shamed. I would suspect that people like Gail Teixeira, who wrote to say, let me read what she said, who wrote to say that the police force is about the best police force in the Caribbean and all of that. She and this man. Let me read. This is what is going on. Don't forget, not so long ago, you had an incident where it was said that two men in police uniform robbed the manager of Toucan Distributions of $10 million at GBTI. For those of you who know, GBTI in Young and High Street, just opposite Pegasus Hotel, it borders the police force headquarters. And the man reported that he went there to deposit $10 million, and these two men rode up. He said that when he saw the people in uniform, he wasn't concerned because he said it's policemen. And then they proceeded to rob him of this $10 million he had, and he went away. Uniform. The police then issued a statement to say later on that one of the men was arrested. Up to now, I don't think they say if the man who was arrested or anyone else, because I don't know, they apprehended the other one, were in fact policemen. They did not say what they came out with. It was one of those mendacious statements to say that the man said he couldn't identify. The man said no, he came back and said no, I clearly said that the men who robbed me were dressed in police uniform. That doesn't mean they're policemen, but they were dressed in police uniform. The man said so. And here what Gail Teixeira said to Aubrey Norton, the leader of the opposition, in this exchange of letters as the government decided that they want to appoint Ikin as the commissioner of police. And, you know, I have said, either want to appoint him, even though it is unconstitutional, he has passed the retirement age, go in and appoint him. But don't tell people all this nonsense. Like, for example, Gail Clear said, I am to inform you, this is the last paragraph of the letter to Mr. Norton. I am to inform you that in the circumstances, having considered your contentions, and upon weighing same against the accomplishments of the Guyana Police Force under the superintendence of Mr. Ikin, including the significant decrease in serious crimes, improved public confidence in the force, the overall enhanced performance of the force, and in particular, the performance of Mr. Ikin, His Excellency has concluded that it is in the public interest and in the interest of national security that Mr. Ikin be appointed police commissioner. That is what Gail Teixeira wrote to the leader of the opposition. Said. All this is going on. And this is, even while this investigation into Brutus was going on, now we hear that Brutus, he answered to 30 charges last Thursday, and they said he got 210 more of you are left to believe. And that is what you're saying. And then you get a man who wrote a letter and to say, this is, when was this? The 9th of October in the letter column. I think it would have been Kaishore News. I'm not sure. But he says he was attacking GHK Lal, who talk about what is going on in the force. And here what the man says, he signs his name as Shawin Cranon. He said, objectivity allows for a clear thought in writing. Mr. Ladd and others are reminded that, that the message Mr. Ikin has been conveying to his officers and other subordinates have never been unorthodox. He has, to the best of my knowledge, promoted the path of best practices for the organization. He has repeatedly pledged to make the Guyana Police Force the best in the Caribbean and has demonstrated this ambitious desire in his presentations when representing the force at engagement overseas. And here the kicker. He said, it is my humble opinion, he sells Guyana in a way it ought to be sold. In fact, we have read that most of the Caribbean is trying to adopt the principles, policies, and methodologies used in the Guyana Police Force as in its effort to reduce crime, the crime rate. That is what they're saying. Where are they living? Just in a short space of time, policemen, people dressed in uniform are said to be committing robberies. The Brutus matters before us. Not so long ago, across the river, they said a sergeant from Villeneuve was the gang leader in some housebreaking ring. Sergeant of police. And those are only three that I'm highlighted. There are so many others. So many others. This thing is mind-boggling. And for those who will jump out and say that there's always been corruption in the force, you're correct. There have always been allegations of corruption. But it's the magnitude when a senior officer, can amass $800 million in assets in less than 3 years. $800 million in assets. I'm talking about Brutus. 500 million in cash. His wife is 4-year-old son who has 2 bank accounts with 40 million, above 40 million. His wife, who established a business about a year ago, and has a bank account over $300 million. This is staggering. The magnitude of corruption is staggering. It's staggering. But they say monkey see, monkey do. And therefore, if the environment facilitates this type of corruption, criminal activity, what do you expect? The environment encourages it. Here it is. Gail Teixeira can write this about the force with all that is going on. And mind you, this letter is written on the 9th. Let me get the correct date. This letter is written on the 9th of October, on the 2nd of October. On the 2nd of October, this letter is written. When all this investigation going on, Brutus being investigated for money laundering and other financial crimes. Allegation that the police across the river in leading some housebreaking gang. The allegation that policemen in uniform rob the man of $10 million, and Gail Teixeira can write that. That to me is an indication of how damaging the effects of nicotine can be. Very, very damaging. Someone who writes that has to be delusional, has to be suffering from a serious mental condition. Very, very serious mental condition. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to obviously on this. You see, that 2 policemen will be charged. Um, well, they say robbery. So I hope when they charge the robbery, they know that the fact that they remove the CCTV recorder, that too is a separate robbery. Apart from the money, that too is a separate robbery. The abduction and that. So let's see what is going to take place. Your views, my brother.
Yeah, the best practices they're talking about is what the pastor pray about: corruption, racism, disunity, and a whole set of other things. This is what they're talking about. And I don't want the guilty sure could write them kind of nonsense. The force is fragmented. Before there is disunity, and particularly at the top, particularly the force is hemorrhaging. It's hemorrhaging. All these things are happening, and they're pushing up the force, or we say we be bigging up the force. No. People living in another world. Perhaps they're not living in Guyana. The pastor prayed for divine intervention, intervention a couple of years ago, and that's what the police force need: divine intervention. God got to come in here and help the police force. Gail Fisher and them can't help the guy in the police force. The president and them can't help the police force. It calls for divine intervention. And I saying all the time, we had early warnings, plenty early warnings, and we didn't get no early intervention. Therefore, the thing has gone completely out of hand with corruption and disunity and all sorts of things.
My brother, let me tell you, I really sympathize and I feel for those hard-working, honest policemen, and they have many. I always say that. They have many hard-working policemen and women at all levels. And because this is painting the force with a broad brush. People say, all your police corrupt and so on. Never so. Never so. You are dedicated, hard-working people, right? But when you have a senior man who was the de facto second senior man in the force, being alleged to have committed all of these criminal offenses, it is damaging to the whole image of the force. It is damaging. It is demoralizing to the other members of the force. Demoralizing. And what has the acting commissioner been doing over the months to address these issues? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're organizing, as Mr. Conway said, they're organizing monthly cleanup campaigns where policemen got to be made to go on the seawall and pick up paper, pick up garbage, pick up shit, and all of that around the place. Then they have dance competition and food competition. That's what they're doing. Nothing to address the core responsibilities of the police force. Nothing to address the core responsibilities, which is service and protection, the prevention and detection of crime. Nothing to address those issues. And that is the man that Gail Teixeira and the president, all of them, want to appoint as a commissioner of police in the Guyana Police Force. That is the man. They are even going so far to violate the provisions of the Constitution to do so. Because Ikin has passed retirement age. He should have retired on the 1st of August, 2023. Because he was born in July of 2023. And for those of you who don't know, in the public service, you work you're in the system up to the last day of your birth month. So in his case, he was born in July, so he will have remained on the system, on the roll until the last day in July. And then from the first day in August, you're a civilian. That is how it works. That is how it works. But what has happened? They're going to violate the Constitution to promote a man, according to Gail Teixeira, who so much good things have happened since he has been in charge of superintending the police force. That is what is going on in the place. Nothing substantial. And we said here, that energy that you're going to use to say you're cleaning up and so on, why not organize as we used to do in the past, right? Mass patrols and so on, to go in the areas and to interact with people and to give people a little calm, at least for that period of time. I saw, and just to show how these people are clueless. Over the months, perhaps even years. We heard about problems with noise nuisance in Leonora. Letters, numerous letters being written. Then about 2 to 3 weeks ago, double murder. Someone killed 2 people and all of that. Falling out for all the lawlessness in the place. So I saw in the paper or on social media yesterday or the day before, he came down to Leonora to meet with the people. I think he might have done so on Sunday. And you know what is the result of that? They put in 2 policemen at some place there to handle the night nuisance. Imagine that is the response. So what happened to the night nuisance in Sheriff Street and all of those other places that people are talking about? I guess you're going to put a 2 police here and a 2 police there and a 2 police there. They lack initiative. They don't know how to address the thing. And in all of this, the Minister of Home Affairs is silent. Cat eat his tongue. He ain't saying nothing. Nothing at all. So they don't know how to handle the situation. And things are likely to get worse because there's no unity at the top of the force. None whatsoever, none. And I say this without any fear of contradiction. They're fighting against other, writing letter against other. Everybody want the commissioner work. Everybody want this work. So they backbiting and backstabbing. In my day, let me tell you this, and Mr. Conway, I'm sure, could bear me out. People know that me and Miss Squaddy and the Green never got along. Never, since we were in training school, we were enemies, never got along. When Henry Green became commissioner, and I was there in the operations, I was assistant commissioner, carrying out the functions of operation. People will never detect when you have meeting and so on that we weren't getting along. Never detect it. Because I acted professionally. I acted professionally. You can't come on because the job is foremost. The job is foremost. Right? I mean, we ain't gonna socialize. We ain't gonna go and drink together a gaff and so on because we weren't getting along like that. But when it came to the job, at my farewell function, the officers' mess, he was moved to tell people, right, that notwithstanding certain issues and so on, he could always rely on me when it came to the job. Always. Other officers, other senior officers, Mr. Conway included, and others, would call and we would discuss issues. If you had a matter that you weren't sure how to deal with it, we will talk to each other. We try to get that type of synergy at the top there. But now it's big fighting, letter writing and that sort of thing. Who carry news on this body and who carry news on the body. That is what is going on. That is what is going on. And that cannot redound to the benefit of the force. It cannot redound to the benefit of the country. And I say this, before I move on, I say this, right? Unless the government is prepared to take drastic action, it's only going to get worse. Let me repeat that. Unless the government is prepared to take drastic action, right, including sending some people off the job. Now, I'm not saying you're going to deny people their rights. Put them somewhere, take them off. People have suggested, and I agree, that maybe you need international assistance. The model has been used in several other countries. I remember Trinidad. I had 2 people from Canada. I remember Antigua and Barbuda, Jamaica. All of them, I think even St. Lucia, all of them have tried. We have got to the stage where you got to try something. You can't be doing the same thing over and over and expect different result. You cannot. And that is the problem. The image is gone, tattered. Every day is some negative coming out of the Ghana about the police. Every day. And these things in the age of social media, they're all over the world. All over the world. 2 policemen, senior police officer. And then the man had the audacity to go to court in his uniform, to further embarrass the country, to further embarrass the organization. But as one of my colleagues, former colleagues said, that if he had been around, right, Brutus would have been going to court in uniform, cuff and shackles. Because he said, I told him I believe that the reason why he wore the uniform is to prevent them from handcuffing me. And he told me, he said, if I had been there, he would have come with the uniform. He would have given the opportunity. He said, first, I would have given him the opportunity to take the uniform off. And if he failed to do so, he would have you were going to the courtroom with handcuffs and shackles in the uniform. And I concur. I would have done something similar. Mr. Conway, your comments, my brother.
Yeah, and just to get back to you and Henry Green, we all knew that you had issues, but when it comes to the doing the police work, you were very professional. Even apart from that, you and Gadraj, You got just serious issues. But when they deal with the police force, they work very, very professional. Not like we're going on there. All of them fighting down what you're talking about them assistant commissioners, all one turn deputy commissioners, all one turn commissioner, and they're fighting down, they're fighting down. And you're talking about bringing people to assist with the force. You mentioned about Jamaica, Trinidad, St. Lucia, and a place. They had attempted, remember they had Bernard Carrick? I think he had a contract for $8 million, 8 million US dollars, Bernard Carrick. And what happened? He get jailed because of corruption. He get jailed. And that is the person that they bring in here to help in the police force. So, we hope that if they're going to bring people, that they will bring proper persons of repute, and not bring another Bernard Carrick.
But not only Bernard Carrick, CC. When I was the head of the presidential guard when Dr. Jagan was president, I was sent there in 1994. And I left there to go to Police Staff College in the UK, Bramshill. And while I was there, I was getting feedback that they were making moves to bring in someone as the head of the presidential guard. And when I returned, by the time I returned from Staff College, they brought Slingshot Dre Paul, John Dre Paul, the Calypsonian. He came and took over the guard in 1994. Slingshot Dre Paul, a civilian. He wasn't, well, I think he had some military experience, they said, in the US, I'm not sure. John Dre Paul, a civilian, the Calypsonian. Slingshot Dre Paul. He took over the presidential guard in 1994. So they have an idea as to how to deal with bringing in people. But, they're bringing the wrong people, not John. Because John came in, John confessed to me. John confessed to me that all the things that they told him were not true. They were painting a picture that the ranks who were there at the presidential guard were unprofessional. And they were talking about the ranks who they had inherited from the previous administration when they came into power in 1992. And then they brought in a whole set of people to be there at the guard. And John told me that the people who are unprofessional is not the ones who were there before. Those people are very, very professional. Very professional. It's the people who they bring in, the supporters who they brought in and put at the guard. They are the ones who was acting unprofessionally. And John decided he can't take it. John chucked and then he chucked and left. So they have an idea. Somebody said, Martin said John was a Marine corporal. Yeah, thanks you, my brother. So, when we say these things are true. The evidence is there. I left and I went to Staff College. And the next senior man was Albert. After Albert, it was Rohan Singh. I remember an issue there because Rohan Singh felt that he should have been taken over from me. And I tell them this work get something called rank. And I was a superintendent. The next senior man is a deputy superintendent, Albert. And I'm handing over to Albert. When I gone, you could do what you want to do. Right? If the administration felt, because when I was asking them who to hand over for, everybody playing games, they didn't want to tell me who to hand over to. So I just hand over to the next senior man, and I left and I gone to my Staff College in the UK. And by the time I came back from Staff College, I was then posted to where I was posted to. Well, first of all, I was made to stick around at headquarters. Then I was posted back to West Demerara. I was posted back to West Demerara as the commander. I was promoted at the end of the year. I think promoted something like that. So the records are there. The records are there. Now let me move on. Now this issue has been surfacing in the media over the past couple of days. And let me address it. I addressed it before. Let me address it again. I'm talking about the interdiction of duty, how it works. And it says here, and this is Dennis Shabal posted yesterday, say Assistant Commissioner Brutus's interdiction from duty looms. And the article, a short article, it says Assistant Police Commissioner. And Dennis and others have been telling you, well, I haven't told you all this. I got to say it now. It's not Assistant Police Commissioner. It should be Assistant Commissioner of Police. The rank is Assistant Commissioner. So all of them that say Assistant Police Commissioner. That is not it. It should be Assistant Commissioner of Police. These things matter, these little things mean a lot. So please, and thank you, it should be Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Brutus, not Assistant Police Commissioner Calvin Brutus. But we teaching. So he said Assistant Police Commissioner Calvin Brutus, who is facing dozens of financial crime charges, is set to be interdicted from duty, a well-placed source said Tuesday night. The source said Police Commissioner Clifton Hicken was Wednesday expected to formally inform the Police Service Commission, PSC, that Mr. Brutus was facing criminal charges. According to the official, who is knowledgeable about the issue, immediately after that letter is received, the Police Service Commission would prohibit the arraigned officer from performing duties until the hearing and determination of the charges. Under the rules of interdiction, Mr. Brutus would receive half salary, but would not be allowed to wear his uniform. And if he is acquitted, he would receive the remainder of his monies. During the first court appearance last week, the Assistant Police Commissioner was clad in his police uniform. Should he walk out of court a free man, the Police Commissioner and the Police Service Commission would have to decide his future in the Guyana Police Force, the source said. So far, 30 charges, including fraud, money laundering, public larceny, and misconduct in public office, have been read to Mr. Brutus, and he is on $6.2 million bail. He is due to reappear in court on November the 18th, when he would be arraigned on more of the remaining 200 odd charges. Now, let me say this. Let me say how the interdiction thing works. The commissioner interdicts from constable to sergeant. All right? Let me deal with it. Let me put the thing on. I'll deal with Brutus just now. The commissioner of police, whoever that person is, whether substantive or acting as the authority, the power to interdict a rank, who is charged for a criminal offense, and that person is placed on half pay. Right? Now, the commissioner, according to section 10, I think it is, don't hold me to that, police gun research of the Police Discipline Act, chapter 1701, can also interdict a rank if he is charged with a disciplinary offense. If he is charged with an offense against discipline, she can be interdicted pending the outcome of the discipline charge. So it's criminal charge and a discipline charge. Now, when it comes to inspectors and above, the Police Service Commission, of which I was once the chair, is tasked as that legal authority to interdict. So here what happens. Let me walk it through step by step. From the time now, the investigation is done by SOCU, by CID, whatever it is. The file is sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions for legal advice. The DPP advises that the officer or the other rank should be charged. The file is then, if it's a CID matter, the file is then sent back to the crime chief. The crime chief then send that file to the Commissioner of Police. Here, once the DPP recommends the charge goes to the crime chief sends it to the Commissioner of Police to inform him that a serving member will be charged as advised by the DPP. Now, once the file goes to the Commissioner's office, the people there at admin, we should call it staff officer, they make a copy of that file to place in the rank's personal file. A copy of the crime file that is returned from the DPP through the crime chief, they make a copy, and the staff officer is immediately aware that this person is to be charged shortly. The commissioner then sends the files to the relevant division, and the person is charged. From the time the person is charged, it is then communicated back to the staff officer, not the commissioner any longer, back to the staff officer. Like, look, this man appeared in court on such and such a date, and the interdiction takes effect from that date. The interdiction takes effect from that date. Now, in Brutus's case, because this matter is a SOCU matter, the file would have gone from the DPP back to SOCU, and then they were required to do the same thing. Inform the Commissioner of Police that Brutus and George are to be charged. And in a proper system, if they know the system work, a copy of that file or those files are kept in the person's personal file. so that you can see what has transpired. All right. So once that is done, now the person appears in court. As in the case of Brutus and George, they appeared in Thursday. In George's case, they would have been told this man appeared Thursday, charged. The commissioner or the staff officer, they call it not 2IC admin now, will then prepare the interdiction notice. It goes something like this: tell you that you were charged with that having appeared, face the criminal charge, and so. You are hereby interdicted and placed on half pay from this date. Then they go on and they tell you that you are not supposed to go into any police station unless you have to make a report and all that. That your powers have been you have been relieved of all powers associated with the rank. All of those things are stated in the interdiction letter that the person receives. And that is it. The person is interdicted, the person is placed on half pay. Some people argue, I know the argument has been made, say that it is illegal to deprive a person of the half of his pay because they say it's property. All that has been argued, but the system as I know it, the person is placed on half pay, pending the outcome of the charge. Now it is implied, therefore, that if the outcome is favorable to the person who is charged, they're going to get back the work, and they're going to get back the half pay, how many years or whatever, they get back the half pay. Also implicit in that statement is if if it's unfavorable, in other words, the person is convicted, then you have to discharge that person from the force. The person is discharged from the force. In the case of the Police Service Commission and Brutus, what is required is for the acting commissioner to write formally to the Police Service Commission to advise them that Calvin Brutus was charged criminally and he appeared before the magistrate on such and such a date. Now, 30 charges, you can't write the details of all the 30 charges to the Police Service Commission. You cannot write misconduct in public office, or you can't. So what you will do, you're supposed to say that he appeared on several charges, several criminal charges, and therefore you're recommending that he be interdicted and placed on half pay from the date that he appeared in court, which would have been last week, Thursday. That goes to the Police Service Commission. The chairman of the Police Service Commission and the people of the Police Service Commission, they don't have to have a meeting to interdict Brutus. Let me understand this thing clearly. Because it is automatic that once you're charged and before the court, then you are going to be interdicted. We know from the recent report from the Complaints Authority, Justice retired William Ramlal, he complained to Parliament and the President that in recent times, ranks have been charged criminally and kept on the job. We know of Roop, Inspector Traffic Man, charged with some sexual offense. They never interdicted him. They interdicted him belatedly, right? And then there's a man in Borby's charged too, Jack the Rider or something. Same thing. He was kept on the job. Wrong. Wrong. Person ought to be interdicted and placed on. We have men now, several ranks now, interdicted for years, 5-6 years. And there, 5-6 years. We told you that once the matter is concluded in court, then that person is reinstated. However, in recent times, that is done selectively. In the case of Roop, belated interdiction, and the man back in uniform already within a year, couple of months, guys. This very year he was interdicted. The matter done pass through court, the man done reinstate, and they're back in the work. And there's a Police Service Commission would have reinstated him because he's an inspector. Whereas you have people who are charged in 2021, cases dismissed against them in last year, December, still interdicted. Still interdicted. I'm talking about officers where the commission should have acted. They ain't doing what they're supposed to do. They ain't doing what they're supposed to do. So that is how the interdiction process should work. Now, let me bring in Mr. Conway. I have something more to say on it, but let me bring in Mr. Conway, and then we're going to continue the discussion on interdiction. Yes, EC.
Yeah, I mean, since Thursday, last week Thursday, today is Wednesday. Nothing that the sergeant or Brutus has been interdicted. And as you mentioned, a simple process. The commissioner from sergeant downwards and the Police Service Commission from inspector upwards. What is the big issue? What is the big issue? Yeah? And I always talk about the Police Service Commission. breakneck speed on the 4th of July. 4th of July, the chairman say waiting on word on from the commissioner of police in terms of recommendation for persons to be promoted, and on the second, 252 persons get promoted civilian, promoted incompetence, promoted persons with disciplinary matters, and a whole sort of thing. The process is simple. Person get charged, interdicted as soon as they appear in court. And you could preempt it. You don't know you get into court, so you don't prepare the papers in advance. If you want to be efficient, sometimes since you walk out of court, so you give interdiction notice. But a lot of persons who won their case and they still have not been brought back into the system. I know one rank, 11 years now, he interdicted. He won his case, I think, last year or thereabouts. And they're saying they can't find the file. They don't know what they did the file. 11 years interdicted, won his case, and they can't find his file. Well, maybe they're waiting for the money bank up, so because he got to get his half pay. But 11 years he get interdicted, won his case, and they can't find the file. They're still looking for the file.
Yeah, well, that's what is going on. That's what is going on. Now, a question is asked here that I need to address. Melissa said, asked the question, can he be dismissed on the grounds of public interest if they are bad eggs and according to the charge? No, that has been ruled to be unconstitutional. They have to be given a right to be heard. Can't just dismiss. It happened a lot of times, the known case is Cyril Bollers, who was an assistant commissioner versus the attorney general. You also had Hilton Cummins, another assistant commissioner, who they were dismissed in the public interest. That used to happen long ago. The people went to court and they challenged it, and the courts have held repeatedly that you cannot dismiss like that in the public interest. There is natural justice. The person has a right to be heard. So you can't just, and they used to just send you the thing and say in the public interest, you're dismissed. It can still doing that. It can sit down there and dismissing them, recruit and so on, and policemen, constables and so on, in the public interest. Wrong. The courts have ruled repeatedly. The Attorney General has commented on that publicly, that the people have a right, natural justice. So if a man has committed himself, you get a Police Discipline Act, Chapter 1701, you have to charge him departmentally and then go through the process. If he's convicted, then he can be dismissed. But you can't arbitrarily and summarily dismiss. So even though one of the sections in the Police Act, I think it's Section 31, says that the Commissioner of Police can dismiss a constable who has been found that he will not be a fit and suitable constable, blah, blah, blah. The courts have ruled you can't do it like that. But this acting commissioner we have here, the extended squatter, has done it repeatedly in violation of the law. And all those persons, when they challenge it, they win money we taxpayers have to pay. It is unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional. There's a process to be gone through. You can't just wake up a morning and decide you're dismissing a person in the public interest. The courts have so ruled. It's not slow and Conway says so. The high courts have ruled. Those of you who are research-oriented, Cyril Bollers versus the Attorney General and Hilton Cummins versus the Attorney General. Coincidentally, both of them were commanders in Berbice when they were dismissed in the public interest back years ago. And there are others who were dismissed similarly. And the courts have held that it is unconstitutional. The people have a right, natural justice. You can't just wake up and say you're dismissing them. No matter how egregious the accusation is. No matter. So even with the matter with Quindon Bacchus killing, where on the 5th of July, 2022, 3 men charged, right? Simon, Dinobriga, and McLennan. And this man dismissed the people on the same day they got to court. Dismissed them from the same day they go to court. This is unconstitutional, wrong all over. Wrong all over. So let's understand it, students. Let's understand. And for the policemen who are listening, understand it. It doesn't work like that. So even if you read section 31 or 35, I can't remember it now, of 1601, the Police Act, which says that the commissioner can discharge a person he feels a constable is not likely to become a well-conducted, something to the words to the effect. Can't operate like that. The codes have said so. So that we understand. Hope we have put it to rest. Now, coming back to this interdiction thing. Let me come back to this interdiction thing. Well, the question is asked if he's interdicted as yet, because almost a week. This is not no rocket science. The process is there. They got the secretary of the Police Service Commission, Jagobin Jai Singh. And you got to go back in the file. We at cause to interdict persons, including people of the rank of inspector and above. It's there in the records. It's there in the records. Easy, simple process. Well, easy and simple if you're bright and if you know what's going on. But some of them are so damn dunce, they're going to believe that it's easy. Then let me say this. The next thing that but let me say this to you too. Take out your notebook and pen. Once a rank is interdicted from the force, the only allowance he or she is entitled to is house allowance. Let me go back that. Once the person is interdicted from the force, whatever rank you have, once you're interdicted, the only allowance you can get is house allowance. In the case of Brutus, he can't get nothing because he lived in the police quarters. When you live in police quarters, you can't get house allowance. Maybe they get in. Maybe there's another fraud. They got to investigate. I don't know. But if you're interdicted, the only allowance you can get is house allowance. And it's obvious because you got to live someplace and so on. Right? All the other allowances, motor vehicle allowance or traveling allowance, they would call it. They call it commuted overtime allowance. And all those other allowances are immediately stopped. You can't get those allowances if you're interdicted. So I hope again the people, the finance and the extended squad and all them listening in, because they know, and then the next thing you know, is more problems you're going to get in the force. Again, when you put square pegs in wrong hole, that is what happening. That is what happening. And they don't seek to be guided by the people who know. So I am telling you that the only allowance they can get is house allowance. And in the case of Brutus, because he lived, well, I should say lives, because I know that he has moved, so I got to use the present tense. He lives in the police quarters, in the police compound. So therefore, he can't get no allowance at all, just the half pay. Well, he ain't suffer because he might get millions and millions of dollars in the bank. So it's not a big issue. That is not a big issue. But I'm telling you from an administrative point of view, from an administrative perspective, you have to make sure that is done. So even the Ministry of Finance got to get involved on all of that. Now, yeah, we have good question. Good question. The issue Umi is asking, right? Let me put it up here now. Look at it. And this is something to be decided. Should he be allowed to stay in the Guyana Police Force housing? I think not. Especially the fact that this particular housing is in the police compound, the officers' mess compound. I understand that his neighbors are two assistant commissioners. Now you get a man interdicted, and a man, now when he's interdicted, because I'm sure he's going to be interdicted soon, facing 240 criminal charges, they're right as a neighbor to serving police officers. As the people say, oh, we got to look. Is the uptick. Is the uptick. He should be given, well, let me put it nicely, not evicted. He should be asked to leave and to go into his official residence at Aslington on the east coast of Demerara. Right? I can't have a man facing 240. Right now it's 30. One more to come. Living in the police compound. The officers' mess senior living quarters. This man lived there. Enjoying free electricity, free things. All the things he said in his statement. Free electricity. He said he does get free food. He said you don't got to pay. You get a prepaid telephone. All of these things you got to look at. All of these things they have to look at. All of these things. Whether you get car and driver and all of these things. And we will be watching. We will be watching. Now, let me go on to say that. Now, the next thing I need to tell you, teach you, inform you, educate you, all 30 charges that were filed and read to Brutus on Thursday are indictable charges. They are indictable charges. Mean, as it stands now, They're supposed to go before a judge and jury. However, there's a provision in the law, the Administration of Justice Act of 1978, which allows for indictable charges to be heard summarily. Police, take out your notebook and take notes. Indictable charges to be heard summarily. Prior to 1978, if a person was charged indictably, in order for the matter to be heard summarily, that person who is charged had to consent, had to agree. Now with the Administration of Justice Act, you have to agree. The magistrate makes a decision based on the argument and think whether you are going to be allowed to continue, or whether the matter is going to be allowed to continue indictably, or whether it's going to be held summarily. And next big difference with the AJ is that once they decide to take it summarily, then all the statements in the file, all the statements have to be given, copies have to be given to the defendant. You got to get copies so they see all who say what, so they can prepare their defense, right? And hear this too. So I got sidetracked just now. Hear this too. So all the statements are given, and so you get a chance to prepare your defense. Oh, this is the point I wanted to make. Not all charges can be dealt with like that. If they are what they call hybrid charges, hybrid offenses, meaning they are catered for in the Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 801, and they're also catered for in the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act 802. So, for example, murder. Murder is an indictable offense. Can be taken summarily. Rape, indictable offense. Arson, indictable offense. Whereas you have something like larceny, can be indictable, can be summary, depending on the amount and all of that. So you institute an indictable charge, and then what happens then? You can ask for summary disposal. And what happens in many occasions, policemen learn the thing, take out your notebook. In many cases, you see, in order for you to bring a summary charge, it has to be filed within 6 months of the commission of the offense. 6 months. You have to file a summary charge. So what happens in many cases, and this is where the policing knowledge comes in. You get some problem and 6 months thing and you can't file a charge. Summarily, can be a summary charge. You file it indictable. You file it indictable, and then you ask for summary disposal. Those are some of the, I don't want to say tricks of the trade, but that's some of the policing knowledge that you need to get. The policing knowledge that you need to have. So, yeah, the charges are indictable charges. And then the next question to be asked, would the DPP appoint a special prosecutor to prosecute these matters? Under normal circumstances, somebody from the DPP's chambers, or in some cases the police legal advisor, or even police ranks can prosecute. But in this case, given the prominence it has had, given the amount of money involved, the question is whether the DPP will appoint a special prosecutor. You know, in the case where they call the election fraud case, they get special prosecutor. When they wanted to bring thing against Winston Jordan, when they moved to court and sought to have him committed in the matter that was dismissed, they employed a special prosecutor. So special prosecutor is not something unusual. But the question is, are they going to now appoint a special prosecutor to prosecute all these cases against Assistant Commissioner Calvin Brutus? Right? The next question, I'm bringing CC just now, taking a little long, good batting. The next thing is here, 210 more charges, they say, are to be read to him. When are these charges going to be read? When? Right? When? Because if the investigation was concluded and they filed 30, I don't know if they filed the rest, but if they have not filed the rest, when are these other matters going to be filed? And when is he going to be made to plead to those charges? Now, when the time comes, you got to go through the process again, you know. He goes there. I don't know if you can go this time with the uniform, because I would want to suspect that by the time these other charges are read to him, he would have been interdicted and placed on half pay. So, but the man is so outrageous, so bold, that he might very well, even when he's interdicted, he might turn up in uniform to say he's answering the charges. Let's see. Well, Commissioner, yes, it's the 18th, but remember the 18th of November is the date for those charges that have been read. That is how I understand it. The charges that were read to him, the 30 charges, are to come up again on the 18th of November. But these have not been read to him as yet. So there's nothing preventing Soku, as far as I know, from picking him up tomorrow and taking him to answer some more of those charges. And that process continues or repeated until such time that all the charges have been read to him. So let me understand it, how it goes, right? And then, I'm curious to know who is the person that bailed Mr. Brutus. You see, we get people in the media, they don't ask these questions, Who is the person that bailed put up the $6.2 million to bail Mr. Brutus? Because as far as I know, you can't bail yourself. You cannot. You have to have someone to bail you, because that one then is the bailer is the person who guarantees or is guaranteeing your attendance at future dates and so on. So let me see where that will go. And then I get another provocative question here I want to ask. Is he going to appear? I think I alluded to it before. Is he going to appear again in uniform? Let's wait and see. Let me give Mr. Conway some button, man. CC, let me hear your views on some of those matters. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there are hybrid offenses, charged indictably, and some gotta go in front of judge and jury. While others, although you charge indictably, you can have summary disposal. But the question is, you asked it and I'm gonna ask it too. Would there be a special prosecutor? And I would even go forward and ask, will there be a special magistrate? Because you're talking about if they institute them, you're talking about 240 charges, 200 and something charges. Will there be a special magistrate, or a special prosecutor? I know normally they bring a King Counsel from Trinidad. And you mentioned who bailed Brutus. There's a civilian, and I wonder who bailed the civilian too. There's another matter you have to answer. So there's a whole lot of things coming up, a whole lot of complications that they need to work out. And you mentioned earlier about the right to be heard, whether whether or not they can just dismiss a bad egg, put in front of just send him home, as the case may be. We heard about the Bolus case and the other cases where the person get a right to be heard, and this right is a God-given right. It started in Genesis when Adam and Eve allegation that they committed themselves. The Lord knew what took place. He didn't pass judgment on them. He called them and asked them what play out. All he knew. Well, they passed blames and all kind of thing there. But the thing is that he gave them the right to be heard, hear their story. And it is a God-given right. And nobody must take away that God-given right from you. It started in the beginning. And so shall it be.
Yeah, it was in the beginning, and so shall it be. And Carlton, I hope that answered the question, the explanation by Mr. Conway. Even though Paul is on probation, you can't just dismiss him just like that. You cannot dismiss them just like that. There's something called natural justice, and you have to go through that process. Natural justice. The man has to be given a right to be heard. So let me understand it clearly. Let's understand it clearly. Let me say this. I was looking at least 20 charges where he's charged with larceny by a public officer contrary to Section 85. And let me say this to all of us again. Let me keep reminding us that Brutus, like anyone else, has a presumption of innocence. So it can be 240, can be 2040. Brutus is presumed innocent until proven guilty by a competent court of law. Let me say further, because I saw some comments, not here today, but other places, right? I saw comments. Brutus being accused of all these crimes, or anyone else being accused of a crime, the onus, well, in most cases, not all cases, let me put this caveat in early. In most cases, the defendant or the accused person ain't got to say nothing. You have nothing to prove until such time that a prima facie case has been made against you. In other words, Brutus can go there and stand up and say nothing. Stand up, sit down, stand up in the box like Mr. Ben, Minister of Home Affairs, and say absolutely nothing. And the magistrate can't assume or can't use the fact that he said nothing to determine his guilt in the matter. It don't work like that. The prosecution has the burden of proof in most cases. In some cases, the burden is transferred to the defendant or the accused person. But in these cases, as far as I'm aware, there's one charge, as I've said, they're saying to that has never been used before, right? So we're saying that first is a presumption of innocence, and the burden of proof is on the prosecution. They got to bring the burden of prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And if, when you go through and the evidence is presented, the magistrate, having reviewed the evidence, feels if it continues to be indictable, that a prima facie case has been made out, then the depositions, all the documents are sent to the DPP, and the DPP will do the indictment. If it is that they decide on a summary disposal and the magistrate is going to try the case, then what happens is that when the evidence is presented by the prosecution, and the prosecution decide that they close the case, this is all the evidence they have, submissions are going to be called on, the defense will be called upon to make submissions, and in most cases, they submit that a prima facie case has not been made out against the defendant. Now, once they do that, and arguments as to whether a case has been made out or not, then the magistrate has to rule. If the magistrate rules, that a prima facie, I'm going to say prima facie, we mean on the face of it, at first glance, rules that a prima facie case has been made out. Now put it the other way first, has not been made out, then that's the end of the matter. The matter is dismissed. Let me go back that. If when the prosecutor present the case, call all the witnesses, present all the evidence, and then he closed, prosecutor said, that is my case, they close the case. Then the defense is called upon to make submissions. In most cases, the defense will submit that a prima facie case has not been made out against the defendant. And for this reason, that reason, they didn't prove this to them. Because every charge has elements, or element, in some cases, you have the elements to prove, and the burden of proof is on the prosecution to establish the elements of the charge. And when we're going to talk about this simple the last way public office in a short while, they have to establish the elements. And then the prosecution might say, no, this has been established, Then the magistrate rules. If the magistrate rules that a prima facie case has not been made out, that's the matter. If the magistrate rules that a prima facie case has been made out, then she will call upon the defense, to lead a defense, call on the defendant to lead a defense. The defendant can go in the witness box. He can stay silent first of all. Say he ain't got nothing to say. Or he can go in the witness box and he can swear to the whatever holy book and say what he got to say. Now, the story with that is that once he swears, then the prosecutors can cross-examine him. And that is why a lot of people don't swear the defendant once a prima facie case go in. What they do, they just go and make an unsworn statement. Now, once they go in and they make an unsworn statement, then the prosecutor cannot ask you anything. So you could go and say, I'm innocent, I never do this, I never do that. But the fact that you did not swear, the prosecutors can't ask you nothing. And then it's the magistrate to decide whether he or she believes you or not. That is in a nutshell how it works. That is in a nutshell how it works. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you give your defense and so on. Then the magistrate will make the ruling as to your guilt or your innocence. The magistrate will make a ruling as to whether you're guilty or whether you're innocent. If you find that you are innocent, then the matter done, dismissed. Right? Matter dismissed. If you find that you are guilty, then the question of sentencing, punishment comes into play. And that is a time when mitigation and all of this comes into play. And let me tell you this, students, listen carefully. This is a very important point for you to note. Now, assuming that in this 4 started charges, right? Butas found guilty on all of these 4 started charges, assuming that for argument's sake. Now, when the others come up and he is found, well, first of all, they can't use the fact that he was convicted before on those charges to say, well, he's guilty of the others. It don't work like that. Each charge has to be determined on its own merits and all the evidence and so on. However, when it comes to sentencing, once you're found guilty of the second set or the third set, when it comes to sentencing, the fact that you were convicted before can be taken into consideration. That is why, I don't know if that's it now, a man, you're found guilty, and then they ask a probation report. They ask a conviction report, right? I don't know if that's get them thing now. Conviction report, where the crime office will put together a conviction report to say this man is a big time criminal. And this date he convicted for that. That day he convicted for that. This time he gone. So the magistrate now can take that those facts into consideration in determining sentence on this occasion. Can't take it to determine whether you're guilty or not. You can be, cat can jump you on. Bengal tiger can jump you on. You can be the worst thief, right? Can't take the fact that you have all of these things in determining your guilt or innocence. But when you get convicted, these things can then be taken into consideration in determining your sentence. Learning. Let me bring Mr. Conway back in. I'm sure he has something more to say on this same issue about how the process works. Mr. Conway, please help me out here.
All right, let me just repeat for the sake of emphasis. You outlined it clearly, but sometimes we need to repeat things so that persons could really understand and appreciate. Now, as you mentioned, the prosecutor say, this is my case. I have no other witness to call. I have no other exhibit to present. And there's a case. At that stage, the magistrate will ask the defense, do you wish to make no case submission? Remember the case with Anil Nandalal when they accused him of thieving law books. His defense made no case submissions, and the magistrate overruled and called for a defense. And he jumped to all the courts about the place, and the court overruled him, and government change, and the DPP non-pros. So get back to it, that the defense will make no case submission, and if the magistrate agrees with the no case submission, end of the matter, it finished there. If the magistrate overruled the no case submission, the magistrate will call for a defense. As you mentioned, so you can stand there, remain silent. You can go in the witness box and give evidence upon oath, where you'll be subject to cross-examination. You can give evidence without oath where nobody could ask any questions. And also, if you have witnesses, you can call witnesses to testify on your behalf. But if you're going to call witnesses, is that you have to give the evidence first, followed by your witnesses. At the end of the no case submission, if the magistrate overruled the no case submission, she will call for a defense. That will make me say the magistrate will call for a defense. And at the end of it, the magistrate will say, hey, do you wish to address me? Where the prosecutor, the defense, will address the magistrate saying why the case must go down the drain. and then the prosecution will respond. And at the end of it, there will be the ruling. So it's as simple as that. It is not no complicated matter. But the thing is that the person's got a right to be heard, and the person got a right to examine witnesses and to testify on his or her own behalf.
Yeah. Clarified and well said. Now, you gotta share, man. Again, I don't think this thing is shared enough. So much of learning, so much of teaching is here. Even the thumbs up. Oh, man, y'all are doing well. Y'all are not doing well. I need to have more thumbs up than that. You gotta share this thing, man. Share this thing. Share the live. Give me the thumbs up. More teaching. And I can't help but compliment my students. A student asked a question here. Would you mean that if he is convicted and he is sentenced, if the sentences would run concurrently or consecutively? Very excellent question, Chan. Now it's all up to the magistrate. And what we mean? Let me give a simple explanation for those of you who, it's teaching, we're teaching. You got 30 charges. Let's assume that he's convicted on all 30, right? The magistrate says 1 year on each charge. So 1 year on each charge. The magistrate will then have to indicate whether these things will run consecutively, meaning when the 1 year done, the next 1 year start, and it goes all the way until all 30 years are completed, right? That is consecutive. Or the magistrate will decide whether it will run concurrent. In other words, the first one, the 1 year, the 29 is run at the same time with the first sentence. So in effect, you only serve 1 year. Excellent question, Sean. Excellent question. Again, I say, the magistrate will decide if it matters, the sentence. Let me assume again, we again is the presumption of innocence. We're not saying that Butas is guilty. We're not saying that Butas will be found guilty, but we're just explaining so you can understand the process. If it is, for simplicity, he's found guilty on more than one charges. Because if it's one, then you're going to question about consecutive does not arise. But if it is more than one, then the magistrate will decide if it's to run consecutive or if it's to run concurrent. Consecutive means when one done, you start the next one. When the second done, and so on and so forth. Concurrent means that the second and others are run at the same time with the first. So basically, it's one. The records will show that you have 30 convictions and that you were sentenced to 1 year and all of these. But in effect, when you go to prison, if it is concurrent, you only serve one term, which is the 1 year or whatever the magistrate decides. And then a next question here that Jeffta asks, if it's freed, I think a mistake is made, but I understand what the person is asking. If he is freed of the old matter, can a private person challenge him in the court? No. Because once he goes through the process and he is freed or he's acquitted, they get this thing we call double jeopardy. You can't charge him back with the same offense. And they think autre acquit, meaning that he's acquitted before on these charges, and therefore you can't charge him back for the same thing. Double jeopardy, right? And autre acquit, where you can't bring back the same charge against the person. Excellent question, student. Excellent question. And again, you gotta continue sharing. You're not sharing enough, and I ain't getting enough thumbs up. With all this teaching we're doing, you're not showing your appreciation by giving us the thumbs up. You're not showing your appreciation. Please give me more thumbs up, man. I love the thumbs up. I love when you and the Carl on the thing there. Give me thumbs up, man. Give me thumbs up. Now let me say this. Yeah, well, yes, Neville. That's all the pardons and all of those things. Your man is convicted. President has the prerogative to pardon anyone who is convicted. So all of these things are things that we teaching you, we try to explain to you, and so on. All of these are things that you need to know. Now let me examine, as I said, time running fast. Now one of the charges says, larceny by public officer. Larceny. People want to ask, and this one talks about the fact that he said that being a public officer employed by the Ghana Police Force, stole the sum of $60 million Ghana currency belonging to the Police Consumers Cooperative Society. Larceny. You want to know what is larceny? Larceny is a fancy word for thieving. In other words, say you thief the money. Get larceny is various form. In this case, it's larceny by public officer. You have other forms of larceny, simple larceny, larceny from the person, larceny by Bailey, a whole set of larceny, clerk or servant, a whole set. But in this case, he's charged with larceny by a public officer. And here, what is the definition for larceny? And after the definition, I'm bringing Mr. Conway, we're going to explain it some more. Larceny, I remember this, since 1974, when I was in the police training college, training school as it was then, you have to learn these definitions for this crime. It's still larceny. Larceny, a person steals, who without claim of right, made in good faith, takes and carries away anything capable of being stolen, with intent at such time of taking, permanently to deprive the owner thereof. Let me go back that. I'm referring to no book, Since 1974, they're in this computer. You have to know these things in the force. You have to know what are the elements of larceny. A person steals, in other words, he thieves something, who without claim of right, made in good faith, takes and carries away anything capable of being stolen, with intent at such time of taking, permanently to deprive the owner thereof. You have to prove all of those elements. Person steals, you have no claim of right, did not make it wasn't made in good faith. They explain to what it takes, what it carries away, what is anything capable of being stolen. All of these things, all what they call aspiration, and all of those things were drilled into you when you were in the training school. So when you came out, lastly, it has to have value. It has to have an owner and all of these things. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. He was at the training institution, and I'm sure he would have taught the trainees this on numerous occasions. Go ahead, Mr. Conway. Lastly, definition and explanation. Go ahead.
Just like in my head, a person steals you fraudulently and without a claim of right made in good faith, takes and carries away anything capable of being stolen with intent in the time of taking, permanently to deprive the owner thereof. And that's well learned. But they get different forms of larceny, You're larceny by public officer. And larceny, they say it could be money, chattel, or valuable security. Money, chattel, or valuable security. There are different kinds of larceny. But the thing is that you're depriving the owner permanently of the article. Must be taken and carried away. And the thing has got to get value. It has to get value. It got to get ownership. And as the case may be. So it's fraudulently and without a claim of right, made in good faith, takes and carries away anything capable of being stolen, with intent at the time of taking, permanently to deprive the owner thereof. And in some cases, we talk about various forms of larceny, and we're talking about larceny of money, chattel, or valuable security. We don't have enough time to go through all of them. Larceny is a lesson all by itself. It's going to take a whole session to really deal with larceny.
Yeah, well, I said larceny is thieving, you thief. And as Ridley said, the angel said, you have other forms, larceny of things affixed to building, larceny of vessel. I remember pre-deal larceny, you thieving people crops, larceny crops, all type of larceny you get. All type of larceny. But when when we talk about takes and carries away or aspirations, that was a whole lesson by itself. What is taken and what is carrying away. And then they tell you if it's a thing attached, only if it is completely detached. Example, long ago they managed to get a watch in the Forbes and all Forbes packet, get it a fox. You get something you have, right? Like a watch. It is affixed. If a man pass and he pull, right? And it then completely detached from where it was affixed, then you can't charge larceny. It's an attempt to commit the crime. So these are things that you got to put these young policemen in, and unfortunately, they are not taught these things. So many times they write a statement, and the elements of the charge are not brought out in the statement. You have to ask, what is the value of the thing? Who is the owner of it? got to be there in the statement. Those are the elements of the charge. And as I've said, each and every charge has its own element that you have to bring out to make sure that the offense has been established. And the only way we were taught you can bring out this thing, you have to know what is the definition of the charge. You have to know what is the definition of the charge. And let me come back to the issue of the same matter again with Brutus we were talking about. When you look at some of the particulars, this one that I read here, the police consumers, where he is alleged that on Tuesday the 28th of November, and again, allegation, these are the allegations before the court. We are not saying that he's guilty. These are the allegations that are made. He's presumed innocent according to the rule of law, but these are the allegations that are being made. Yes, sir. Between Wednesday the 28th of November 2023 and Wednesday the 29th of November 2023, at the Guyana Police Force Headquarters, Ivlery, Georgetown, in the Georgetown Ministerial District, said, being a public officer employed by the Guyana Police Force, stole the sum of $60 million Guyana currency. And with this $60 million thing, this thing is, let me tell you what the facts are, because he's also charged with misconduct in public office. And it says here, right, that misconduct in public while performing the said duties. I used to say, hold on, let me get it right here. He instructed Woman Special Inspector Collins to prepare Police Consumers Cooperative Limited, of the Police Consumers Cooperative Limited, to prepare and encash a check. They get the number of the check in our name in the sum of $60 million, Guyana currency, from the Police Consumers Co-op account, name the account number, held at the Republic Bank for the purpose of repairs and maintenance of the said Police Consumers Co-op building, and caused the said money, $60 million Guyana currency, to be handed over to him by the said woman inspector, knowing the said $60 million Guyana currency was not being used. Well, again, was not being used for the purpose of the said repairs and maintenance of the said Police Cooperative Society without any reasonable excuse or justification. That is a damning allegation. God is saying what he did. He instructed the person in charge to prepare a check for $60 million. There's no chump change, $60 million. And then she was instructed to encash it. So she paid the money, cash it, and hand over the $60 million to me. That is what they're saying. That is the allegation that's been made, to hand it over to him. And I am no bright boy, but when you read the thing, they say, let me read back this part, to be handed over to him by the said Special Inspector Collins, knowing that the said $60 million Guyana currency was not B-E-E-N. Is that the correct? Was not being B-E-E-N or B-E-I-N? B-E-I-N-G. They said B-E-E-N, used for the purpose of the said repairs. Well, I've been to primary school, so them chap been to, I've been to UG too, but them been to us other place, IFOC University and us other place. But this is a damning allegation, and I'm saying too again that this is a clear indication of a breakdown in the system. They said the same thing in terms of the Police Finance Office. He instructed the Police Finance Office to prepare 2 checks from the Police Central Welfare Fund and give the cash. We had people have seen that this thing wrong. To whom did they complain? Did they report these things to anyone? That is why I continue to say that this thing requires a big investigation that SOCO is incapable of conducting. You talk about all this money in this account. And I'm going to come with a little time. I'm going to touch briefly on the money laundering part. Briefly, because I didn't get time to go into any great detail. But when you look at some of the allegations, is everybody asleep at the wheel? Or if they're not asleep, they are part of this whole diabolic crime conspiracy and execution only conspiracy. $60 million. I said the last time that what happened is that we used to have consumers meeting every Thursday. I chaired many of those meetings where the manager of the consumers have to present, among other things, a financial report so we can see what is going on with the police consumers, because consumers is generally managed by relatively junior people, some ASP or deputy superintendent, or in this case, a special inspector. So you have to have oversight. So where is the oversight? How can the police finance officer prepare checks, 7 million and 6 million, to hand over to Brutus? And yet this thing, you know something wrong to tell somebody? Comrade, I'm waiting to see the another 220 charges. I am waiting to see if others are implicated. To see if others, including the acting commissioner, who wrote that statement to say that he collected $8.5 million from a businessman. And he paid the money. He counted it, he said, $8.5 million in an envelope. Folks, this thing, deep. And despite what they're saying, and tomorrow you're going to hear at that thing, they show the big bacchanal the other day, with the need and shame, Maku May. You're going to hear us at up news out tomorrow. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to give his closing, and I got some other stuff to tell you. Mr. Conway, talk about what I said just now and close at the same time, my brother.
Oh, okay. The thing is that so much of financial irregularity, and nobody can come and tell me for write out check and give somebody and then encash it and all kind of thing. It got to be wrong. And then no checks and balances. The police consumer never used to hold meetings. No oversight. And now the allegation is that one man could get people to do all kind of thing and attacking about allegations. I'm not saying that let me make it clear that Brutus is presumed innocent of all the allegations made about him. But how the finance officer can, according to allegation, write out check? How the inspector from the police consumers write out 60 million in cash and then hand over to Brutus according to allegation? Something is definitely wrong. And then let me make a couple of points here. The police quartermaster's tour. There is need for a special investigation to be done on the police quartermaster's tours. Tremendous irregularities took place, and there need for a special investigation just to target the quartermaster's stores alone. And then the SCs, what they're doing with the money that the corporation and them paying for the SCs who performing duties, when the government also is paying for the services. And then there's a issue in Barbies. Some inspectors and subordinate officer complain. We had the Barbies Expo, Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce. They paid money for ranks to work. We call it extra duty, 4 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It was well attended. Persons there who had to go had to pay $500 for entry. I slip in quietly there and observe. The policing was great. They did excellent work there. I think it was crime-free. But there's a big issue because the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce paid a certain amount of money into the Ghana Police Force in Barbies for the ranks to perform extra duty. Some ranks work from 3 in the afternoon to 1:30 in the morning. 1:30 they even get transportation to go back home or go back to the station. Now, 1 week passed, nobody paying their money. I heard this morning they started to pay the money. But what they did, persons who work 4 days, I heard a top gunner saying that they can only get 3 days pay because 1 day got to go down to the government. It wasn't a government function. It was a Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce. So those who work 4 days, they only paying them for 1 day. And I get some people who go and give FaceTime, go and show their face, stick around a bit and go along the way. And some people give seat time, go and sit down in the car, and then they go on the way, and them getting the full pay. But those who do those inspectors and subordinate officers who work for 4 days only getting paid for 3 days, and some getting paid for 1 day. They say the money can go back to the government. And there are allegations that they're licking up the extra duty fund. They're licking up, and they're being unfair to the police. The police, when they go and take a bribe, they put them in the front of the court. Now they work hard, work for 4 days, and you're telling them you're only paying them for 3 days, and some only 2 days. And people who go and give FaceTime, people who go and give sick time, getting the full payment. I'm going to talk more about it. They get more details. And the point is, this is an early warning that things may not be all right in the financial situation in Borbis. But only though, what's going on in Borbis, if you do environmental scanning, you might find it happening in other divisions too. So there's how the financial irregularity start, and then it's going to get bigger, it's going to get massive. I hope that they do something about it.
Yeah, we talking when you get they say Inter-Beniba, make Kwashiba take notice. Inter-Beniba, make Kwashiba notice. Thank you very much, my friend. And folks, let me say, those of you who I have to thank all of you who have made contributions to this program, financial contributions, via Zelle, via Cash App. Since the Cash App has been established, a few persons have made contributions. I thank you very much. And I'm telling you again, the information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. For those of you who want to make a contribution via Zelle or via Cash App, please, it will be appreciated. As somebody that said, it's no running water, you know. I said it ain't no running water, but we will appreciate any help you can give. No, I indicated to you folks that I wanted to talk about money laundering, but time will not permit me to do so today, for you to understand exactly what money laundering is. Now, the next thing is, I noted somebody mentioned here that the press conference, which is normally held by the Vice President on Thursdays, is being held today. Because I know tomorrow is a public holiday in respect of Diwali. So the press conference abuse out this afternoon. He did answer Makume, so you're going to hear the abusing out there. One of you can call on bench cap, you know, one of the abuse out. What did he say? Look at one of the abuse out there. Did I get it here? Yeah, look at one of the abuse out. You're shouting.
These people can be vile and nasty. If I tell you what I know of Benchcup, it gets sickening. He was the reigning queen in the prison for 3 years. And the thing is that people, the prison officers, people were carrying food, they were trying to smuggle in a wig and lipstick for him there. I know that because I was president, they gave me report.
Yeah, he was president, they gave him report. We can talk about that too later. And of course, we got to give it therapy.
Sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims.
Who? Sue? Your relationship? What if you can stammer so today at the press conference? Was the first time? Stump for words. Folks, what we have? Let me, again, I got to read, you know, GSK Lal summed it up. GSK Lal summed it up some time ago. He said, what we have today is not a government, but a gang of gangsters. For the most part, what guidance are for leaders today are nothing but out-of-control lunatics, pathological liars, unreconstructed racists, and political sadists. That is what GSK Lal said, and I concur. Now, let me tell you, folks, this is some I tell you all, you gotta subscribe to this channel, you know. When you subscribe, you're gonna know when things are coming up. But I have to tell you that Monday coming, I'm not gonna be able to bring you your usual class because of something I can't avoid. I have some activity I can't avoid, so we're gonna get no class on Monday. Now, again, I say to you, depending on how things develop, you never know. You never know. So as it is now, God's Spirit Life, our next scheduled program is next Wednesday. But as I'm saying again, let me emphasize, if something come up, we might come up suddenly, not Monday, because Monday, I can't make it on Monday. I have some other very important engagement. But stay tuned. We're not going to deprive you of the teaching. We are not going to do so. We are not going to deprive you of the teaching. All you got to do your part by giving me thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, follow the page on social media, Facebook. And for those of you who want to give us a little top up so that we can take care of some of the admin expenses, you have Zelle number scrolling across at the bottom there, and this is also the number for Cash App. So, folks, until we meet again, whether it's Wednesday, next Wednesday, or before, God's willing, I encourage you to stay safe. Stay safe, be well, and I'll see you, as they say, I'll see you when I see you. Until then, stay well. Bye.